Hi, I'm Kristen, and this is the Simple Handmade Everyday Podcast, where I talk about living a creative, intentional life. I like to chat about quilting, knitting, sometimes cross-stitching, what I'm reading and watching, and a little bit about self-care, productivity, and keeping a cozy, organized home. I've got my cup of tea in hand, so grab yours and let's settle in for a chat. This is episode 106. Hello, friends. Oh my goodness, it's good to be back. As usual, I did not mean to take such a long break, but life just backs up on us sometimes this time of year. Even without the rush to get kids back into school and all the extracurricular activities that used to come this time of year, even as an empty nester, it somehow just feels busy. And probably because the last 2 years we have chosen to basically take our summer vacation in September. So yes, we went to Chicago. We took a family trip to Chicago to go visit my daughter, who recently moved there at the beginning of August. So we kind of gave her some time to settle in. And it was a great trip. And first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody that emailed me or in some way got in touch with me to help me plan the things we were going to do during that vacation. I appreciate all of it. We did quite a lot. We didn't quite get to everything, but we have to leave things for future trips, right? Which may just be for my husband and I, which will be a lot cheaper, if you know what I mean, about eating out with a family of 5 adults, 2 meals a day. Crazy. So my daughter lives north of downtown Chicago, in this very cute little neighborhood, very walkable. My husband and I, in the mornings, we got an Airbnb near her apartment, and I never lived in one of these or stayed in one of these kind of brownstone type buildings that I've admired for so many years in Chicago, and didn't really realize what it would feel like. They're so narrow and deep, and so in our Airbnb, you'd come walk in, and to the left was basically a living room, and then just off that, a little bit like of an office. And then if you turn right, it's just a long hallway that's got a dining room, the bedrooms, and at the other end, the kitchen. So it's just like this one long hallway. The building was like 120 years old, and the floor squeaked like nobody's business. Nobody could get up in the middle of the night and creep to the bathroom without everybody like waking up. It was crazy. And then you could hear the people above us squeaking. So that was kind of funny. It was fine. But anyways, it was a very, very nice little Airbnb. And because it wasn't in downtown Chicago, it was, quite affordable. And so in the mornings, my husband and I, we, got up the first morning and walked to this adorable little grocery store. And it was like, I think my daughter actually drives to a bigger grocery store, which is just a little bit cheaper. But if you need something, there's a very nice sized grocery store there with a lot of selection. And because it's near Loyola University, there's a lot of reasonable restaurants. There's even a small Target around there. So she can really get around just walking, in her neighborhood, which I think is just a little used bookstore, like super cute. We, kind of got up and walked over to Lake Michigan in the morning. Very nice. It was all very nice. And then because my friend Vicky over at My Creative Corner 3 recommended it, we bought the City Pass, which was like, I don't know, $135, but it gave you entrance into 5 different attractions around Chicago. And that worked out perfectly for us. We definitely got our money's worth out of that. We also got everybody a train pass for a week so that we could hop on and off trains, because where she lives and where we were staying, it was about depending on when you we're into Chicago, but let's just say on average, about a 30-minute train ride into the city, which was totally fine. It was, I kind of got a kick out of it. Maybe it would get old later. I don't know. But so that was fun, because that's not something I get a chance to do very often. But we went to, I'm still going to call it the Sears Tower. It's apparently called like the Willis Tower now. But the guy on our architectural boat ride still is calling it the Sears Tower, so I feel vindicated. But my gosh, when my best friend and I went to the Sears Tower, what must be 30 plus years ago now, I was talking to her about it the other night, and we think maybe it was free. And you just got in an elevator and you went there and you looked out the windows. It's like a ride at Disneyland now, where they have so many things for you to look at, to keep entertained while you wait. And they've got this thing called the ledge, where it's this big glass box that you can step out into and look down, straight down. I think it's 1,400 feet. So we did all the fun pictures there. But so that was wonderful. It was just so great to be back in Chicago. I still just love that city. We also did the architectural river tour, which I had never done. I've done the tour that takes you through the lock and along the coast of Lake Michigan, and looking into Chicago, which I would like to do again. So that'll be something we save for next time. The first full day we were there was my youngest son's 21st birthday, so we did a very nice dinner at this restaurant called Gibson's Italia, which is Gibson's Steakhouse, but also has some Italian things, and we kind of did the whole thing family style, and it was incredible. It was definitely, it was a luxury item, but it was so much fun, and absolutely probably the best restaurant meal I've ever had in my life. So that was amazing. Then the next day we had a little bit more of a low-key day. We took the train just to Lincoln Park. We went through the zoo and the conservatory, and we just got back to the area that when I was working, that's where I spent a lot of time. We walked down Lakeshore Drive and down the Magnificent Miles. There's a very cool, 3-story Starbucks building on Michigan Avenue that has this experimental floor. There's things there you can only get at that particular Starbucks. I didn't really buy anything. We all shared a couple flights of espresso martinis, which I now can confirm that are not my thing. I kind of suspected it, but it seemed like a fun thing to do. So that was fun. But that was a little bit more of a low-key day. The next day, on Thursday, we went to the Art Institute, and we're eating great meals during all of this, Thai food, ramen, this great Italian dinner, all over the place. And we went to, that night, this was so much fun. Okay, I have to back up a little bit. The weekend before we left, my husband was doing yard work, and he's listening to all his podcasts. And we are big NPR fans, have been listening to NPR for many, decades. And one of the most fun shows that we like, it was called Wait, Don't Tell Me. I'm sure some of you know it. It's a news quiz show, and it's funny. They always have what I kind of call B-list comedians on there that are taking quizzes and being funny. So anyways, it's hosted by this guy named Peter Sagal. And my husband comes in and says, Wait, Don't Tell Me is recorded in downtown Chicago. So we got tickets for that for one night on Thursday night. So we had dinner at this fun Italian restaurant. We walked down to the Studebaker Theater. And it reminded me of when we drug all our kids to a Tower of Power concert. There was this outdoor concert in Ojai one time where they were absolutely the youngest people there. Everyone is like our age. Same thing at Wait, Don't Tell Me. They're all our age. But anyway, so we're kind of worried that they're going to think it's lame. But they grew up listening to the show on Saturdays as we were driving them to fencing and soccer and, SAT exams, all those sorts of things. And so it was so fun to watch that show being recorded, and how, it's a live recording, but it's recorded on Thursday nights. It airs on Saturday. So there's plenty of time to edit. So if somebody, if the host sort of stumbles when he's reading an intro or something, he just stops and starts over, and, so they can just edit out the bad take. And then even at the end, they say, okay, when we're done here, we need 3 or 4 minutes to fix anything that didn't go quite right. And so they've all got these monitors in their ear, and you can just hear them just read lines over again, that for whatever reason. And I kind of wonder if it's because the audience was laughing so much, you didn't get a good take on it. But what was, these guys are really performers. What really stuck out to me is, I'll get to this in a second, there are interviews. There's usually an interview with a celebrity, and then also people, there's this whole thing where people call in and answer quiz questions and things like that. And in the moment, there's some real excitement in the host's voice as he's talking to them. And it was funny to me to hear him have to do another take that was no longer live with that guest, but he could get right back into that energy, like such an actor. So it was really good. So the really fun part is there's a celebrity guest who comes on and does a segment called Not My Job, where it's they whatever this person is known for, they're going to answer some questions about something that is kind of like in a funny pun way related to their job. And the guest that called in live to the show to do that segment was Hillary Clinton, which we thought was so fun and so amazing. And he went into a whole story about how, like 10 years ago, he had met her at like a fundraiser event or something and said, I would really love to have you on the show. And she said, I will totally do that sometime. And ours was the show where that promise was finally fulfilled. And so that was very cool. The whole thing was very funny, and our kids had a great time and thought it was fun because we were worried they would think it was lame, but we all really enjoyed it. So that was kind of the thing we didn't expect to do, but ended up doing in Chicago. That was very fun. We did the Shed Aquarium. We did, walking along the lake a lot, things like that. It was just, it was a great time. It was great to see my daughter's apartment and to know where she lives. So when I talk to her, I can kind of picture it in my head a little bit better. So anyways, thank you to everyone who weighed in on what we should do. I totally appreciate it. And with that, let's get into the quilting segment. Part of the reason I haven't podcasted is that I just have not been very crafty lately. But I did pull out the Cabin Valley quilt, which I had, I put that together. I've talked about that in past podcasts. I put that together so quickly. I just got to the point where I was doing the sashing between the rows, and these are modern log cabin blocks on point, and the sashing goes diagonally, and I knew I was going to have to measure, and I just weirdly felt a little intimidated about getting it right, and I didn't want to mess up because I am down to the wire with my background fabric, and I'm not 100% sure I know what it is. Probably Moda Bella 97, because I think I like that a little better than Moda Bella 98, which is very white. But anyways, and I could take a piece to the quilt shop or whatever, but I want to make what I have work. So then we were going to leave on vacation. So, I cleaned up my sewing room. I put my design board away and folded everything up and put it in a little project container and, just generally straightened up. And I just have felt paralyzed to go get it all back out again. And then my friend Minky Kim, you know her, Zeriano, she came over for tea on Friday, and she was just looking, she does between her fabric lines and her YouTube channel, and she is so prolific with her patterns, but she was kind of looking for a little inspiration. We had tea over at my house, and we sat in my sewing room, and she said, I can tell you're not doing anything. This place is way too neat. And she was 100% right. It felt kind of convicted by that. I'm like, you're right. I need to get back to sewing in the evenings. So yesterday I drug that. I keep my design wall, which is one of those big, it's 7 foot by 4 feet wide insulation board with batting taped to it, just duct taped to the back, which I really need to take off and do again. It's getting a little saggy. But anyways, I keep it behind the china cabinet in my dining room, which is also my sewing space. So I was able to pull that out, and I pulled out all the rows are all together and got them all put up there. I would love it if this design wall was half again as wide. Just another 2 feet would be just fine. 6 feet wide would be plenty. But it's not. So my quilts, but when I get them put together, they sag off the edges. But anyways, I got it put together and looked at the instructions, figured out how to do this row sashing, which sounds ridiculous that I somehow thought that was going to be hard. But and I got the first one done. And so now hopefully the blockage is over, and I'm going to finish up this quilt, and then I will have 3 quilts to send to the long armor, and can really spend some time thinking about what is the next project that I want to make for the house. I talked in the last podcast about the fact I've been redoing the 2 bedrooms that were, the childhood bedrooms of my 3 kids. The 2 boys shared a room with bunk beds, and my daughter had her own room. And we finally got those painted. I don't know if I talked about that in the last podcast. I think I did. So yeah, I kind of regret that color a little bit. It's perfectly nice. It's called cotton linen. I just maybe wish I'd gone a little bit darker. It's maybe a little white, but whatever. I'm going to put colorful things on the walls. It'll be fine. But there's some bare walls. And I've talked about putting quilts on them. I've even gone through the quilts that I'm not using. Like, is there anything I can hang up there? And nothing seems quite right. But my friend Tracy over at Joyfully Tracy, she mentioned to go check out Lisa Marie Quilts on Instagram, which I did, and to get some wall quilt inspiration. And Lisa Marie seems to buy patterns and make them and then sell them. And she frames them, which is very interesting. I don't think I'll do that, but it's very cool. But it's kind of fun to just look through the ones she has chosen and going, oh, that would be a good one. So I'm still kind of looking. Last time I talked about looking at Robin Pickens patterns because I really like those. So I also want to get bedding established so I know what my color palette is in those rooms. So I'm still working on that. And I'll talk more about where I am with those rooms at the end of the podcast. The other thing that I saw online that I thought was a very interesting way to decorate with quilts is somebody, and I'd have to look through my DMs because I know I sent it to people. Somebody had the idea of taking a piece of canvas like that you would paint on and creating a wall quilt that is exactly that size, and then basically in whatever multiple ways you can do this, tacking that quilt right to a piece of canvas. And I think they even painted the sides of the canvas. I think it was a darker thing, and maybe they were black, but white could also work. And then hanging that on the wall. So it's just like this interesting way. So it's got some dimension, it's sticking out, and it makes it a little bit, it seems, I don't know, a little bit more official than the way I hang quilts on a wall, which is with thumbtacks usually. I know I can do the rod, and I might do that eventually, but I thought that was a very interesting thing, and I might try something like that eventually. So as a matter of fact, I've got these canvas things in our loft which have musical instruments sort of prints on them, and someday when that turns into my craft room, maybe I will repurpose those into ways of displaying small quilts. You can do whatever size you want, but I think they were basically maybe like a 12 by 12 was what I saw, and I just thought it was very, very clever. And while we're talking about quilting, there's a couple things I want to talk to you about, some interesting products and some stuff that Fat Quarter Shop has sent me. First of all, have you guys seen the new Oliso M3 Pro project iron? So they have, I love my Oliso iron, the big one that pops up, and it has a 30-minute shut off and a very long cord, lots of steam. It's just absolutely, Oliso irons have been my favorite. And I also have their little mini project irons, which are so fun to, especially if you were in the part of your quilt project where you were doing blocks, then having like a wool mat right next to you with the mini project iron to just quickly iron the seams for a block and then keep moving without having to get up and go over to the ironing board. I love those, and I love both of those irons, but they have a new version of their little mini project iron, and first of all, they're super cool looking, and they come in these great colors, but even better than that, hopefully I'm going to try one of these soon, and then I can report back. But they have a little LED light at the front that illuminates the tip and the fabric. So if you are really working on some detailed things, like if you're into applique or things like that, I think having a light on the end of your iron is frankly brilliant. It's got the super smooth diamond ceramic flow sole plate. It's got the very sharp little detailer print, dual steam. Even though it's small, it's supposed to be a very powerful iron. Sometimes those small irons don't really get things flat or hot enough. but that's not the problem here. And it can also sit up on its end. So the little project iron I have now, it comes with a silicone plate that you can just, because Aliso irons, the big ones you can sit on the back, but the whole thing is that they raise as soon as and lower when you touch or release them. So you get into that frame of mind of leaving things down. And so the small irons have a little silicone thing that you can lay your iron on. Well, this, I believe has that, but also is built so that you can put it up on its end, and it's got a 30-minute shut off when it's up on its end like that, 10 minutes when it's down. So anyways, they are available for pre-order right now, which is why I am bringing it up. And they are $65 right now. They will be $80 later on once they're released. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. I will give you a link in the show notes if you were interested in that. And I will keep you in the loop on what I think after I get a chance to try them out. I have every faith that I will love them because I have always loved all my Aliso products. Since it's been a little while since I did my last podcast, I've gotten a couple of fun PR boxes from Fat Quarter Shop that I wanted to talk about. And it's a little bit of a backlog because it's been a while. But one of the first things I want to talk about, I love Fat Quarter Shop's mesh project bags. They are absolutely my favorite bags. They are the right size. They're cute. Because they're mesh, you can see through them and know what is in them, which I find very helpful. But now they have this new version, and it's called the Big Hexy Project Bag. And it's mesh. This one, and the project bags are usually like a plaid pattern, super cute. This one has a hexy pattern on it, also very cute. It's a Lori Holt product, so you got the honeycomb kind of look to it. But it's so big. It is 18.5 by 18.5, even though that's what the specs say, but it's a little bit narrower at the top than the bottom, so it's got a cute shape to it, and it expands, the gusset expands to 4 inches. So it's like if you needed, and it's got handles, so it's like it could be like a tote bag. So if you were taking a big project to a retreat, or if you were bringing quilts to show and tell at a quilt guild meeting, or even if you were like bringing something to a long arm or something like that, it's really big, could hold quite a lot. So though super cute, I can't wait to use it. I wanted to talk about that. And, I have not been cross-stitching as much. I'll talk about that in a minute. But I have picked out some fall projects. And one of them is the Lori Holt Stitch Cards Set R, which is very autumn themed. There's a very cute pumpkin and a crow and a scarecrow and a sunflower. And I've already pulled out the crow and the pumpkin. And these are small, like roughly, what does it say? It's a 36 stitch square design. So they're small. And I've always had this idea, because I'm not going to put a lot of cross stitch on my walls, to do these smalls like that and turn them into little pillows and put them in my dough bowl that I got last year for Christmas that I have not done anything with except have other cute things in it. So I went through and I was able to use the floss that I have. I don't have exactly what is called for there, but a lot of them, it's like you want a light orange and a darker orange and a light green and a darker green, so I was able to put together my own little floss set to do those. And then yesterday came the pumpkin floss drops. I keep all my floss on these little floss drops instead of pulling from the skein. And so now I'm excited to take those that floss that I've pulled out for those projects and put them on the little pumpkin floss drops. And then they're also sent me let me pick it up here. It's this big ring with a little to keep your floss rings on, so it's a ring for your floss drops, and it's large with plenty of spaces, and it's got this cute little enamel quilt block on it. And so it is called the Candy Car Thread Bling, which is just very cute. So just those little things that kind of make cross stitching just a little bit more fun, to have that fun stuff. They're also come out with, oh my goodness, so many cute needle minders these days. So I've got the Bee in My Bonnet, a little bee one that is in white and aqua, very cute. But they've come out with this pattern that has been super popular for them, and it is the Quilted Witch. And it's a Lori Holt design, and there is a quilt pattern and a cross stitch pattern. And I will probably include these in a giveaway in the future. But oh my goodness! So the witch in this little design, and of course I will put pictures and links in the show notes, has this big skirt that is like a quilt, like a patchwork quilt. So it is adorable. Even the broom here has some integrated flying geese. There's a cat with a bunch of half square triangles, lots of stars. As a matter of fact, I see now that one of the stars in this pattern is the quilt block that is on the little thread bling ring. And there is so there's a quilt pattern and a cross stitch pattern. How big is the quilt pattern? It's a big one. So this would be a very cute seasonal quilt. Finished size 76.5 by 89.5. That's got to be solidly queen size, I would think. And very cute. And the cross stitch is, well, it depends on, if you used 14 count Aida, it's basically 12.5 by 15.25. So, it would be a good size to frame and put on your wall. And then on top of it, they did a super cute needle minder that goes with it. It's a very big needle minder. I do love a good needle minder. I know some people don't use them. They just kind of collect them. I'm not a collector, but it is really fun to have a needle minder that kind of goes with your project. So that has been really fun. So the whole quilted witch thing, if you're into that at all, this is a perfect time to get started on that. And again, I will put links in the show notes. And the other fun cross-stitch pattern they sent are the Autumn Days ornaments. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, they started this last year with these little ornaments for Christmas trees. So they're small, you can get from Fat Quarter Shop these finished, they can finish any way you want. You can turn them into little squares, but or into circles. They all lend themselves very well to circles. And they have these little adorable pie tins that you finish your little cross stitch onto one of these sticky circles, and you put it into the pie tin, and it can be Christmas ornament. They also did a set for Valentine's Day. Maybe there was a spring one, I'm not sure, but they have one for autumn here, and it has, so they're small designs, like 28 by 28 stitches, and how many are there? There's probably 12. Includes 12 cute designs, and so they are. There's so one of them says "I love fall." One of them is pumpkin pie, a pine cone, of course, a maple leaf, and a pumpkin. Just so many cute little designs here. One has an apple and a mushroom and an apple pie. Very, very cute. So I will put a link in the show notes if you are a cross stitcher and you're looking for just like these small little things to put in a tiered tray or a dough bowl, or however you decorate for the seasons. Very, very cute. All right, let's move on to other crafts. I guess I've kind of talked about what I'm doing cross stitch wise. I want to do those little stitch cards. I've also pulled out Autumn Love, which was the big it pattern last year. At this time from Fat Quarter Shop, and I never really it's a very big cross stitch, and I never wanted to do the big thing because that's not me, but it has a lot of really cute smaller motifs, so I that are very fall, so I might do a few of those. So I pulled that out as well, and my 25 count Lugana parchment. And we'll see if I can get on to, finishing up some little smalls. And speaking of finishing up, I've got some things that I need to finish. So last year I did a little bit of a bigger thing. I think it's about 6 inches. This pattern called Autumn Cottage from Plum Street Samplers. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's a sweet pattern that I was going to just finish into a small pillow that I could put in the dough bowl or on a bookshelf or something like that. And I still have my free, why can't I talk today? Flea Market Flowers, which is the one cross stitch that I definitely am going to frame. And so I need to think about seeing if I can do that myself. I am hoping that I can find an appropriately sized frame. So yeah, I've done some cross stitch and now it's time to actually finish them. Even though I really am with cross stitch a little bit more about process than product, I do want to enjoy the fruits of my labor. And knitting wise, I'm just still plugging away in the elementary shawl every once in a while, and I'm getting the urge to cast on socks, but I'm resisting that because I really want to just kind of finish some things. And, I've got 2 projects that I'm in the middle of hand quilting, and I'm mostly my hand-pieced quilt-along projects from a while back, and I would like to finish those. And really, I need to stop buying things and use what I have and finish things up. And you know what? I've really learned that when you work on something consistently, it gets done a lot faster than if you just think about it. So I need to just get back into that sewing room and stitch, knit, whatever. So any of the things would be good. It's good for my mental health. It's a good way to spend time. I otherwise can sometimes really waste those evening hours, and I don't want to do that. All right, let's move on to TV. So my husband and I watched, probably on Netflix, the kind of docu-series. We used to call them mini-series, right? Or limited, what are they called now? Like a limited episode series called Painkiller. And it is about the opioid crisis and the company who made OxyContin. And it's got Matthew Broderick as the patriarch figure for that company. It's based on a true story, and my eyes were opened. I think I live a little bit in an insulated bubble about what is actually going on with opioids, and also how completely horrible and terrifying it is. How many people who, just get an injury, hurt their back, then so quickly get addicted, so through no fault of their own, through their own biology, get addicted and then cannot get off these drugs. And like if they had never been injured, they never would have gone down that path. And I've never been prescribed an opioid with all the kind of various surgeries I've had, but my husband has, and luckily really hated being on them. Now I feel like, oh, I'm so glad you hated that. So anyways, it was an eye-opening show, so I definitely recommend that. And then we started watching Band of Brothers. I've never claimed to be the first person on a TV show. It is like that show is about 12 years old. I am not a war. I don't like war shows. I don't like watching or reading battle scenes. So this is why this was never interesting to me. I love like World War II stories about the women who are at home holding down the home front. Like that's my deal. But it had come so highly recommended, and I think because of the writer's strike, Netflix really started to shuffle up these shows that are older. And it does have some actors that I really love, like Daniel Lewis. But so we started watching that. And my husband and I often watch a show at dinner, a habit that we absolutely did not have when we had children. And when they come home, we don't eat in front of the TV. But it's the one time we can I can be guaranteed to not fall asleep while watching a TV show is when we're having dinner. Very quickly realized that Band of Brothers is not the show you want to watch while you are eating, because it is very much okay. So for those of you who do not know, it is the based on the true story of this group of paratroopers, the 101st Airborne, I believe, that parachuted into Normandy, and that's where it kind of starts in a way, even though there's some flashbacks earlier. And we're not done yet, but we're going to follow them through the war. There's a very unique storytelling method, is that I don't know how unique it is, but it's cool that every episode focuses a little bit more on one character. So you get the perspective of the guy who's in charge and the medic and just the lowly private or whatever. So, they were all having slightly different experiences depending on what their role in it was. I've learned so much, but there is a lot of battle scenes. There are a lot of people getting blown up and having their legs blown off and just really some very horrible things, which I don't like to watch. But in some ways, I think it's good for me to be reminded of what war really is and how privileged of a life I have led to not have to deal with this in a very firsthand way. And so it's very easy to disassociate from it, but this is making it more real and kind of ups my empathy and compassion. And now, we've got multiple wars going on in the world right now. Big wars. Obviously, there's always some wars going on. But anyways, it's been a good experience. But don't watch it while you're having dinner is all I have to say about that. We finished up Only Murders in the Building on Hulu, and oh my gosh, that was a wild ride. about who did it. That is, I continue to highly recommend that show. So fun. Steve Martin, Martin Short, Selena Gomez, and this last season, the third season, Meryl Streep and Paul Rudd. It was so much fun. I can't wait. I can't wait for the next season. So then we kind of ran out of things to watch that we could watch while we were eating dinner. So we've been watching Abbott Elementary, which is fine. It's okay. It is. It was up for all these Emmys, which I was a little surprised about, but I just think that in some ways it is indicative of there's not a lot of competition in the 30-minute sitcom realm right now. And it's perfectly fine. It's laugh out loud funny sometimes. But it's just kind of, it's meh, in my opinion. Cute, but meh. So I think when we finish that one up, but now I'm committed. I have to finish it up. And you know what? It's 22 episodes. It's like an old school sitcom. No 8 or 10 episodes there. So that's been fun. We're going to cancel Hulu and then switch over to Apple, where I'm looking forward to the next season of The Morning Show and Ted Lasso. And I know there is something else on that channel that my husband wanted to watch. I can't remember what it was. So that'll be next for us. And then for the show that I'm watching, well, I should be like stitching or something, but I haven't been. I've just been sitting there watching it. And I think I need to, for my own little personal shows, I feel like I need to have a little bit of a rule about you need to be sewing or stitching to enjoy these shows, to watch these shows. Otherwise, I just sit around and waste time. But my friend Patty over at Elm Street Quilts asked me if I had watched Sweet Magnolias. So there's two shows that's been around for a while on Netflix, Sweet Magnolias and Virgin River, that multiple people have suggested to me. And I'm just like, oh yeah, they seem very sweet and lightweight. And so Patty was saying she was enjoying Sweet Magnolias, so I started that. And it reminds me a little bit of years ago, my guilty pleasure show was Cedar Cove, based on the series of books by Debbie, I want to say Macomber, but I don't think that's how you actually pronounce it, but you know who I'm talking about. And that was a cute series with Andy McDowell, but like kind of guilty pleasure, lightweight. And that's how I feel about Still Magnolias. It's about, it takes place in South Carolina, this group of 3 women who have been friends since childhood and have all lived in this town called Serenity. And they're now all adults with careers and children of their own. And it's their story of their friendship and all the things that happen in this little town of Serenity. And it is super cute, and it's very wholesome. And what I kind of like about it takes place in the South, and they all go to church, and it's like in that kind of ways, it kind of figures into their lives. And as a person who's grown up going to church, you don't see that on TV shows very often, I don't think. And so I find that very sweet. There's an episode where they all worked VBS, Vacation Bible School, which I have totally done, and all my kids have gone to Vacation Bible School. And so it was just it's just cute. It's a cute little show. It's it's just easy to watch. So I do recommend it. There's 3 seasons of that, and I'm on the 3rd. Next up, let's talk about books. I have been doing some reading. I looked at what I talked about last time. I think I talked about some books that I was going to read, but the most recent book that I really liked was by Ellie Griffiths. I'm in my Ellie Griffiths era right now, who is a mystery writer. And I read the third in her series with the detective Harbinder Kaur. And it's called Bleeding Heart Yard, and I enjoyed it very much. It's a little bit of a school story in that the murder takes place at a reunion. And I thought this was interesting. It was a high school reunion celebrating 21 years. And it takes place in England. And I was like, do they do 21-year reunions in England? Somebody let me know, because here, it's 10, 20, 30. I'm like, 21 years. That is an interesting time to have a reunion. But anyway, somebody dies, and it's all about this group of friends from back in high school and what happened then and how it relates to what happens now. And so it's kind of I really enjoyed it. It reminded me a little bit of the book I read many years ago. It's one of my daughter's favorite book by Donna Tartt called The Secret Lives. And again, it was like a boarding school. It's kind of a dark academia theme. Boarding school, at the beginning, someone dies, and then the whole book is kind of figuring out how they got there, how that happened. And anyways, Bleeding Heart Yard, enjoyed that. So then I went back to Ellie Griffiths' more famous series, the Ruth Galloway series, of which there are, over a dozen books, I believe. I read the first one, which was called Crossing Places, and I'm like, okay, this is okay, but, maybe I get more into this. That's definitely how it was when I read the first Inspector Gamache series, which, of course, I love. The first one was like, it's okay. Then I just kind of got more invested and it got better the more I read. So I'm reading the second one, which is called The Janus Stone. And one thing about these Ruth Galloway mysteries is that she's an archaeologist. And so archaeology, so figures into these, people are digging things up and they find bones and they call Ruth to come help with the case. And I don't hate it, but I'm not loving it. And so if any of you have read the Ruth Galloway series and tell me, stick with it, you'll like them more as you go, let me know, because I'm kind of like, maybe Ruth is just not my thing. But when I was looking her up today, I found out she's got another series called the Brighton series. And so I was thinking maybe about trying that and seeing if that just resonated with more. Because, I'm loving her more current series. So, it just might be that the heroine being an archaeologist and that figuring in so much into the stories is just not my thing. So if you are an Ellie Griffiths fan and you have some information, please let me know. I've checked out a bunch of books from the library and borrowed on Libby. And not too many do I really want to report on, because I've just tried a bunch of things that I haven't really loved lately, to be honest with you. So I did check out a book on Libby that was recently released by Bree McCoy, and it's called The Cook's Book. Now, Bree is a woman that I know from Instagram, just because I kind of she's in kind of that little clique of Kendra Adachi of The Lazy Genius and Laura Tremaine from many podcasts. Like, there's a little group of them that I think have a little mastermind for their internet businesses. And Bree McCoy is the one that is really all about cooking. And I'm not sure I've ever made anything, but I enjoy her channel. She seems like she's a good cook. And so she came out with a book called The Cook's Book, and I got it on Libby, and I didn't get through the whole thing, but I did enjoy it. It's really about, there are recipes in it, but I feel like it would be really good for a new cook or someone who feels a little insecure in the kitchen, because she talks just a lot about being in the kitchen and becoming a cook and understanding flavors and ingredients. And then she has recipes that sort of teach you things to look for. So here's a recipe, but here's what we're doing and why, and here's how you can tweak it. So like there's a recipe for guacamole that teaches you all about, like what something like acid, like lime juice or lemon juice, will do to sharpen up the flavors of that. So it's definitely a different approach to a cookbook. So anyways, I don't think it was right for me, but I did kind of think about buying it for my daughter if I thought she'd get through it. Do 20-somethings really want physical cookbooks anymore? I'm not sure they do. But anyway, so if that looks interesting, you could maybe check that out from the library to see if it's your kind of cookbook. I would have liked to have seen it in person, but I could only get it as an ebook. 2 books that are kind of bubbling their way to the surface for me is Lessons in Chemistry, which I know was a big book club book last year, and I think there's a show coming out, I think on Apple. Maybe it's already out. Most people I know liked it, or really liked it. I think my friend Frances could not get through it, so I'll have to check that one out. But it's a big hit, and I need to have my own opinion about that. So that's going to be coming up for me, and then. As you may or may not know, my friend Frances Dell from the Off Kilter Quilt, I'm really stumbling over my words today. We have a weekly blog called the Empty Nest Chronicles, where we muse about all things this time of life. And in our last post, it's really all about time, and how it's called Tempus Fugit. It's all like time, which means time flies. And we have a little bit different, obviously as you get older, we all know that time goes faster. But the element of time that I've been thinking about more lately is just very morbidly, and I apologize for this, is how much time we have left. And that's because 3 people that I know, not super close, but like friends and acquaintances, 3 people in the last few weeks in their 40s or 50s that I know have died. All from cancer, and all fairly quickly, and it kind of rocked me a little bit. And so that's just, I just want to, it just kind of made me think about making sure that I'm spending my time well here, and spending it in ways that I, are advancing relationships, because I think we all know that relationships are the thing that is the most important thing about life, and just making sure I'm nurturing all those. But anyways, there is a book that has also been very popular called 4,000 Weeks. And it's come recommended me multiple times. And I'm just like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't think I can read a book that's about, and the idea is that we all have about 4,000 weeks to live, and how are we spending them? And that just seems like I don't know, I can do that. But my friend Sherry McConnell over at A Quilting Life, she messaged me and said, and Sherry and I are very alike. We are like just sisters of the mind and heart. And she said, don't be afraid of that book. It's really good. It's not morbid at all. So I think I might have to investigate that one as well. So lastly, I just want to give you a little progress update. So one of my goals for this year was, as I've already mentioned, redo my 2 kids' rooms, and we're here in October, and I'm making some good progress. I think I'm going to bring it to the finish line. So the rooms are painted. We now have furniture in both rooms. The furniture in the boys' old room is from a local furniture store, and it's like Amish made, and I love it. There was a whole debacle of when they first delivered it. There was actually something wrong with every piece. Something was not what we ordered, either the finish or the style. So finally, they have come and replaced it all with our furniture, and I was very happy with it. And I had one of those days that does not happen very often. So I needed to go out and buy. So no, it's a bed and a nightstand and a chest of drawers. And I needed to buy bedding, which is always so hard for me. I just never can find anything I like. And some decor and lamps. And I went to TJ Maxx, Home Goods, and Target. And came home with a bunch of stuff. I had warned my husband, I'm going to come home with a bunch of stuff. Do not be alarmed. Because a lot of it will go back. I need to try things. Oh, and the other thing that I've been wanting to do for ages is to kind of figure out my throw pillow situation. I wanted to introduce, my house is kind of neutral, so I could change up colors and then just never introduce the colors. So I've been wanting to do that, but have not found the right throw pillows to do that. And I hit just like throw pillow jackpot. So between those 3 stores, I came home with 4 throw pillows that are in our family room, 1 on my bed, and I bought new bedding for our bed while looking for bedding for the other rooms. So that was nice because I needed some new bedding in here. But for the boys' room, I ended up getting, we went to Pottery Barn, and I had this whole idea about what I was going to order, and it was going to cost a bunch of money. And then none of it was going to be available till like late November. And I was like, forget that. I'll find something else. And believe it or not, I found a set of bedding from Target. It's like the Joanna Gaines line that's blue that I like. I really like it. I think I like it as much as I would have liked the Pottery Barn stuff, and it's way cheaper. And if I don't like it later on, then I don't feel like I have, invested so heavily in it. So I got some bedding on the bed. I got a throw pillow so that it's, feels a little bit styled. I found 2 lamps. And just a fun little, it almost looks like a wooden jack or something, it's like just a little decor thing. I put some art books and put this little wooden thing on top. I moved a plant into that room. So it's just like, okay, this room, it doesn't feel finished because all the walls are still bare, and I need to, at least 2, maybe 3 walls need something. So I'm still mulling that over. When we did the bathroom, our master bathroom last year, we had some really good luck at art.com of finding a print that we liked, and then they would frame it and send it to you. I say we had good luck and that we found things we liked, but twice they were damaged, and then they just said, just keep them and we're going to refund you. And so they were minor little things. Like I couldn't even tell you what the little imperfection was in the one that's hanging in our bathroom, but it ended up being free. But we ordered again another time, and it worked out fine. So I might do some art that way and maybe leave one wall. I don't want to be overwhelmed with the chore of going, I need to make quilts for all these rooms. So that room's almost done. Now for Chloe's room, we went a little bit of a different direction. So what we were looking for is a platform bed, more lightweight furniture, meaning it's not a master bedroom. They are rooms that are not going to be used that much, so I don't want to spend $1 million on them. I love the quality of the furniture we bought for the boys' room, but we just couldn't find anything in that price range. And sadly, I would have just bought, if there was another slightly different style from that manufacturer, I would have just bought that. Couldn't find it. What we ended up doing is going less expensive, and we bought this set from this company called Grainline Studios. And I like the way it looks, but it was a lot less expensive. And it's when we got the stuff from the furniture store, they brought it in, they set it up, they put the mattress on, they did all that. This was like Grainline Studios. We ordered, they sent it to us very quickly. We waited like 5 months from the stuff from the furniture store. We got the other stuff in a week, but we had to put it together. So it is quality-wise, like in terms, it looks good. I like the way it looks, but like when you're opening the drawers of the chest, it's got more of an IKEA vibe, But it seemed, because it was less expensive, it seemed like less of a risk. And like, if we decide we don't like this, we can hand this down to one of the boys when they move out or something, But so it's just all like standing in that room, like not in the right places right now. We went and bought a mattress yesterday. So I would love to head out this afternoon and do the same thing, find bedding and lamps and some minor decor things to kind of get that room into shape. I don't think we won't need both those guest rooms till Thanksgiving, but I'm not really enjoying the pressure of the bedding and decor thing. So that's going to have to evolve. And so that is coming together. Once I want to get stuff on the walls and stuff by the end of this year. And then part of next year's chore will be to go through those closets in those rooms, which are not horrible, but are going to need some work. So yeah, I'm feeling excited. I feel like I'm making good progress on all the big things that I wanted to do this year. I'll talk more about that in future podcasts. Those other big goals had to do with health and with feeling like we were prepared in case of emergencies. So anyways, I just wanted to update you on that, and I think that's about it. If you do know of any place online or people to follow that have, for interior design, type of inspiration, let me know that. I would appreciate it. No new reviews to talk about, but if you feel so inclined, I would love it if you popped over to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts and rate and review the podcast. It does help other people find it, and I totally appreciate it. You can find me online at my blog, Simple Handmade Everyday. I put everything in show notes so that you don't have to take any notes when you listen. You can find me on Instagram at Kristen Esser, and please consider joining the Simple Handmade Everyday Facebook group so that we can keep the conversation going. Have a wonderful week.